2,000 people were killed when police dispersed their sit-in camps in Cairo. Egypt was promised a swift return to democracy. Instead, it's back under an official state of emergency. So has the country returned to the bad old days, or is a real reset on the horizon? I asked the strategic advisor to the interim president, Adli Mansour. And Mostafa Hegazy, welcome. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Christiane.
There was a clear promise to restore Egypt to democracy. So when can you tell us that there will be new elections? Will Mr. Mansour run? Will General al-Sisi run? When will the whole constitutional process that was promised on July 3rd and 4th and in the days thereafter actually start to be visible?
The parliamentary elections would be early 2014.
Early means what? January, February?
I think January would be, it's the start of the process, not necessarily that we have the parliament by that time. It's the end of the referendum would be probably the end of December. So the referendum on the Constitution. Once we have the Constitution in place, we will be calling for parliamentary elections in about a week or so. And then we start the process of parliamentary elections for another 2 months or more. So we're looking at the end of parliamentary elections probably towards the end of March, early April.
So do you envision presidential elections next summer?
Yeah, pretty much.
It obviously can't come as much surprise to you that there has been an enormous amount of anxiety and criticism and worry now in Egypt, even amongst the people who supported you, even those who said this is what the people want, that we want to go into the streets and we want an end to the Muslim Brotherhood and that kind of extremism. Now they're saying that the very things that they criticize the Muslim Brotherhood about, you are doing. The repression, the arrest of journalists, the harassment of human rights activists. People are saying it is worse than the bad old days.
I think this is what I call a pretty linear thinking, which is having some manifestations.
Would you say it's a wrong thinking?
Yeah, I believe so. It's not very precise.
I mean, I have colleagues who are going to jail, journalists, human rights activists.
Yeah, but let's be precise about what kind of situation we're having now, which is, first of all, we have an administration in place that has been, in its entirety, alienated by the Mubarak regime or the Muslim Brotherhood regime. And we came with the will of the people to be more of the custodians of making sure that what happened at the Mubarak time and the Morsi time not to be repeated again. But we have to know that
they say it is being repeated, and it's worse. They say, look at the state of emergency that's being extended.
Yeah, that's a good point. I lived in Los Angeles at a time that we had a situation for, a police brutality that ended up in riots in the streets, and we had emergency laws in Los Angeles by the time, and we had the National Guards in the street. You wouldn't say that because of this incident.
Are you comparing LA to what's happening in Egypt right now?
In a way, that what happened in a week could have been extended in Cairo for about a month or so. But what I'm trying to say, the emergency laws got its own reasons, because we had to have a curfew in place in order to maintain the security of our people and security of other people, like the journalists and others. So if you have this, I would say, you're mandated to have a curfew, you have to make sure that you have to have emergency law in place. So it's not for the sake of the emergency law itself. As I said, sometimes desperate times requires desperate measures, like what happened in Los Angeles, that's what happened in Cairo.
Right, I see the comparison you're trying to make, but you're talking about putting journalists in jail as I think I hear you say, for their own security.
No,
this is very serious what's happening now.
I haven't been saying
this. I would like to have an answer as to why the very people who supported you are now worried and see the system turning against them. Liberals, journalists, human rights activists, people who say, we may not have been able to speak freely under the Muslim Brotherhood, and we can't speak freely now under this new interim government.
I think, first of all, this is too general a statement, and I think this statement does not apply. The United States
is saying that, Europe is saying that.
No, does not apply to all of the, I would say, the incidents, because we've been talking to U.S. officials, we've been talking to European officials, and we've been very close to the incidents that are happening, even with some journalists, and I think some of those happened because there's been violations of the law, probably by the curfew times or so. And it's not like you're trying, or maybe it's been portrayed in a certain way, like, this is like, a tyranny reestablishing itself. This is not the case.
You said it. People are saying that.
No, this is not the case. The case is that we have a certain security situation that might dictate having a curfew, for instance, as one of the instruments in order to maintain security. If you have someone in the streets violating...
It's an inability to criticize.
No, that's not the case.
Well,
no, that's not the case in any way.
It is.
Not the case, because you have not only journalists, you have people from the opposition, which is not only the opposition, people who are trying to put Egypt on pause, who are the Muslim Brotherhoods. Those people are now criticizing the government. They're having marches in the streets. They're talking to journalists, to foreign officials, and no one is in any way chasing them or detaining them. So it's not like...
Mr. Hegazy.
Let's not make it like the habit of a government is trying to detain journalists.
Those very people are being swept up and put in jail. The Muslim Brotherhood people who you just referred to are in jail. All the people we used to talk to are in jail.
No, this is too general. This is too general because you have some of their own historical leaders who's been inciting violence.
The spokespeople are in jail. The people I used to call and talk to are in jail. The people who's been instigating violence, those are the people in jail. We are very keen to be the custodians of freedom of expressions, freedom of speech, and freedom of protesting in any ways, provided there is no violence in it. And that's exactly the case that might cause some people to be, in a way, legally prosecuted because of instigating violence or practicing violence. So, where does it get you as a nation to once again ban the Muslim Brotherhood? And I ask you because after July 3rd, there was a lot of talk from your own interim leaders that we actually want the Muslim Brotherhood to be part of the new democracy. You know, you bent over backwards to say you wanted them in the system. And yet, the facts on the ground show precisely the opposite of what you said. That they have systematically been arrested, that their press has been closed down. Obviously, the president has been arrested. All his top ministers and people have been arrested. As I say, the top spokespeople have been arrested. Is the Muslim Brotherhood banned?
No, they have to be legalized. No one would be banned in Egypt unless the law bans his own activity. Sometimes maybe I would say, in a slogan way of saying it, that they have been a banned organization. The Muslim Brotherhood as an organization has never been a legal organization. It has been only a name, a slogan that's called the MBs, but all the time, as you said, they've been running as independents under this kind of theme or under this kind of slogan.
Where is President Morsi?
He's in custody.
Where is he?
In a safe place.
Has he had access to lawyers?
I think he does.
Do you know for sure? Because his family say he doesn't.
No, he does.
Will it be a military trial?
No.
When will
the trial happen? It's a civil trial. It's happening as we speak. It's not a trial. We have the process.
In secret?
Not the trial.
No, that's what I'm saying. When is the trial?
The trial will happen after the investigation with him is finished.
When do you think that might happen?
It's in the hand of the Egyptian judicial system.
And it'll be a public trial?
Yeah. Yeah.
People look back at this amazing thing that happened in Tahrir Square in, spring of 2011, and they wonder, has that all been lost, and how can you harness again? How can Egypt recover the promise of that kind of desire for freedom and reform and democracy?
There's a huge difference between the time that you're talking about, which is the time of Morsi, and now. What we know that we have some or a certain faction which is not, I would say, aligned with Egyptians' view to the future. You have a golden opportunity. It's about time for you to join Egyptians, not the other way around. It's a golden opportunity that they can capture, they can seize the moment, as Richard Nixon has said before, and it's a moment to seize.
Mr. Hegazy, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you.
And while Egypt struggles, so too does neighboring Libya.